Imagine going to a doctor for a checkup. They take your temperature and immediately prescribe medication without running any additional test. You'd probably have questions. I bet you would. Yet, in education, we sometimes do the same thing. A student scores below benchmark, and we immediately jump to intervention without asking the necessary questions. For example, what assessment should I administer next? If you've ever wondered when to screen, diagnose, monitor progress, or administer a summative assessment, this video is for you. Welcome back to Literacy One-on-One Learning Channel. In our last episode, we learned that great teachers collected data, but exceptional teachers know what to do with it. Today, we're talking about the next step that we need to take in order to do effective assessments. We're discussing the 4 reading assessments every teacher should know. 1. Universal screeners. 2. Diagnostic assessments. 3. Progress monitoring. And 4. Summative assessments. Each assessment serves a different purpose, and understanding the difference can completely transform how we support struggling readers. Let's start with universal screeners. Now, I want you to think of these as the first line of defense in literacy instruction. The purpose of a universal screener is simply to ask or to see which students may be at risk. Universal screeners help us quickly identify students who may need additional support. Some examples of screeners that we can use to assess our students are letter naming fluency, LNF. This measures how accurately and automatically a student can name the letters of the alphabet, which in turn gives us insight into a student's rapid naming ability. Then we have nonsense word fluency, the NWF, which measures a student's basic decoding skills by asking them to blend the sounds in made-up words. We also have oral reading fluency, ORF. This measures how accurately and automatically a student can read connected text aloud. And we also have word reading fluency, WRF, which measures how accurately and automatically a student can read a list of real words. Finally, we have phoneme segmentation fluency, PSF. This measures a student's ability to hear a spoken word and break it into individual sounds, giving us insight into their phonological awareness skills. These assessments help us identify students who may be at risk, but they don't tell us why a student is struggling. They simply tell us where to begin asking questions. Therefore, let's move on to the diagnostic assessments. This is where educators begin thinking like literacy coaches. Diagnostic assessments help us answer questions like, what skill is missing? What is the student's lowest unmastered skill? And what instruction should come next? One important framework mentioned in our assessment unit is the Diagnostic Reading Assessment Plan, or DRAP. The Diagnostic Reading Assessment Plan, or DRAP, help teachers move systematically through the assessment process to determine which foundational reading skill is contributing to a student's difficulty. For students in 3rd grade and above, we will begin at the top of the Diagnostic Reading Assessment Plan and work downward until we identify the lowest unmastered skill. However, for students in kindergarten through grade 2, we will take a prevention approach and begin at the bottom of the Diagnostic Reading Assessment Plan to identify concerns as early as possible. Now remember, educators, screening identifies and diagnostic assessment explains. Now let's talk about progress monitoring. Progress monitoring helps us answer one very important question. Is what I'm doing actually working? Many of the same tools we use for screening can also be used to monitor student growth over time. And they are letter naming fluency, LNF, nonsense word fluency, NWF, oral reading fluency, or for ORF, word reading fluency, WRF, and the maze, which is a silent reading comprehension assessment in which students fill in missing words within a passage. Now, if a student's scores improve after 6 weeks of intervention, that's valuable information. If their scores remain the same, that's also valuable information. Data isn't there to judge us, it's there to guide us. And finally, we have summative assessments. These assessments help us answer the question, how did we do overall? Examples of summative assessments are state assessments, end of year assessments, standardized assessments such as iReady, etc. The summative assessments provide a broad picture of student performance, but they are not designed to tell us what to teach tomorrow. That's why teachers need all 4 assessment types, because each one gives us a different piece of the puzzle. Now let's consider Marcus from episode 1. Marcus scored below benchmark on the ORF, oral reading fluency. What should happen next? Should we A, continue teaching as usual, B, immediately assign extra homework, or C, administer a diagnostic assessment? If you choose a C, you're thinking like a literacy coach. You should administer a diagnostic assessment. Remember, screeners identify, diagnostic explain, progress monitoring measures growth, and summative assessments evaluate overall performance. I want to leave you with this question. How many times have we expected one assessment to answer questions it was never designed to answer? Because when we understand the purpose of each assessment, we stop collecting data for compliance and begin using it to change lives. Thank you for joining me for episode 2 of our assessment and database decision-making series. In our next episode, we'll dive deeper into one of the most commonly misunderstood topics in literacy assessment: screening versus diagnostic assessments. What's the difference? If this video was helpful, subscribe to Literacy One-on-One Learning channel. And remember, great teachers collect data, but exceptional teachers know what to do with it. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.